we are in the lunch recess. As you guys can see, the state seal. We are going to get ready to talk to our panel of experts. If you're just joining us right now, Fox 10 investigator Justin Lum here covering the Doomsday Murder trial with Special Projects executive producer George Obi. Guys, we will come back to this at 2 p.m. is when the stream for you guys will start. The cross exam will continue. It is getting very, very interesting, very intense in the courtroom. I would call it a caddy cross exam. And here we have joining us Mel McDonald, a retired judge and prosecutor with Maricopa County Superior Court and the County Attorney's Office. We have Rachel Smith, special prosecutor on the Idaho case against Lori Vallow Daybell in 2023. Benjamin Taylor, a criminal defense attorney who was with us yesterday. Good to see you, Benjamin. And then we have a new guest today, Cresha Easton. She is the daughter of Kay Woodcock, also the niece of Charles Vallow. She's family and has been involved and been a part of this for the past 5 years now and more, and can give us a lot of insight on Lori. Whoever wants to go ahead right off the bat, you know what? I'm going to start off with Cresha, since you're our new special guest here. Watching your former aunt go after Nancy Jo Hancock and tell her, ask her, is it normal for you to date married men? It's a lot more complex than that, this whole saga with Charles and Lori's separated relationship at the time.
She has a lot of nerve, doesn't she? I think she does. I'm hearing a little feedback, so just don't know why. Let me turn this off.
All good, all good.
Anyways, yeah, that was very weird. And I don't know what her deal is. Like, she was cheating on her husband with another married man. And so it's like, hi, pot, I'm kettle. I just want to hold a mirror up to her so many times. It's crazy.
Okay, yeah, you make a true point there, because you make a true point there because Lori Vallow Daybell was having an affair with Chad Daybell at the time. Let's go to Rachel Smith. What do you think of the morning so far?
It's exactly what we expect. Is as things get more personal, Lori's going to get more combative. She's showing she's really aware of what's going on. She has definitive things she wants to get across. And if the witness isn't giving her what she wants, she's responding and fighting back. I think we've also seen a great deal of patience from the judge with her. He is not yelling at her. He is not being really difficult. He's allowing her to go where she can. And even I saw it was really interesting, and I couldn't help but laugh when he saw her doing something that's kind of a big red flag that a lot of lawyers would not choose to do. He took a sidebar. He cautioned her against it. He cautioned her again, and then she just opened that door wide open. And of course, Trina Kay did not object to that. So I'll be very interested to see what comes.
Yeah, Lori said, how am I supposed to know about the specifics if I don't ask this question? So, Rachel, what happens from here? Let's say she does. She's going to ask this question about her narrative, what Charles was talking about. What happens then? What do you see?
What is very possible is Trina Kay's going to do an analysis. Charles clearly said things to Nancy and others that were very negative about Lori that have not yet come before this jury. And so when Lori opens the door like that, it does get some of those statements in, especially if they provide context, if they help explain the other statements Lori's let in. So Trina's going to be doing an analysis. Do I need this? Just because I can ask those questions, should I? Even though the defendants made a mistake. So we're going to see the prosecutor's sort of mindset when she stands back up and says, what else did Charles tell you?
Benjamin, what do you think of the defense so far? And we got to hear a little bit about, or we did see the cross exam on Daniel Coons, the Chandler police detective who's now retired. And Lori Vallow Daybell is getting into his testimony and saying, you don't know exactly who shot Charles, do you? Even though it was just her and Alec in that room. What do you think of her defense today?
I mean, Lori's just trying to establish that the Chandler officer doesn't know what he was talking about, doesn't know where the bullet came from. wasn't theirs. So she has to prove self-defense. And the way that she can do that is by saying that you weren't there, Chandler officer, and you have no idea how the shooting occurred. And maybe it really was self-defense. So, I mean, she's trying her best, what she's doing, but I don't know if the jurors are buying it. The Chandler officer came across pretty intelligent. It seemed like he knew what he was doing. And the prosecutor came back and was able to set the standards and show this is where the bullet came from, this is how it happened, and this is how the shooting actually happened.
All right, let's go to the judge. Mel, you talked about cross-exam. You're looking forward to this and seeing more of the personal aspects in this case. We got it today.
Yes. Every day, Lori convinces me more and more the adage that if you represent yourself, you've got a fool for a client. She is doing, in my view, so much damage. One, she's coming across as very bright. She's very intelligent. Two, she is very savvy. But what she's doing, I mean, the judge is basically warning her, you're opening these doors, which I think is wise, because on an appeal, if she's convicted, he gave her ample warning, and she's not going to listen to anybody other than herself and go in her own direction. I think right now we're starting to open up the heart of the case against her. We're going to see through this first time date the night before how troubled and concerned Charles Vallow was. It keeps striking me every time she refers to the death of her husband. Time and again, she refers to her husband, but the picture is going to be, in this case, she didn't consider him her husband. He was a dark spirit. And overall, I just think it's each day that she continues to participate, she does some very good job in questioning, but I think she is building up a picture for the jury that ultimately is going to be devastating for her.
She's showing them that she really may not know what she's doing. She did ask some questions to Detective Coons, and she asked if he knew that Charles and Alex were basically best friends and that they golfed together, and we're still wondering what that relevance is. Alex Cox still the one who did shoot and kill Charles and not call 911 for 45 minutes. That's on the police report. But let's get back to Nancy Jo Hancock. Let's listen to this soundbite where Lori asks Nancy about Charles's divorce proceedings. Top 5.
So did it surprise you later to find out that we were not in the process of a divorce?
Charles was in the process of a divorce.
He was not in the process of a divorce. Did it surprise you to find that out? You've seen it all on TV where we're not getting divorced.
Okay.
So on the website that you met him, did he say he was divorced?
I'm not certain.
Would you have gone on a date with him if he would have said he was married?
If I would have realized how married he still was, maybe not. But I just met for dinner. I wasn't sleeping with him or anything.
Do you go on dates with married men? Naturally?
Argumentative. I'm going to also object under 611 for harassment.
All right. I'll sustain the objection.
Your Honor, do I not have a right to cross-examine this witness for what she has already testified to?
You can cross-examine her about what she's testified to.
So you did go on a date with a married man,
I went on a date with Charles.
but you did not know he was married.
I knew his divorce was not final.
His divorce was not started.
Okay.
Okay. So in your text messages, you asked Charles if he was a good kisser. Is that correct?
Maybe, sure.
Did he answer that text message?
I'm
gonna
sure.
object to
I'm sure he did.
relevance. Again, 611 harassment.
I'll sustain the objection for relevance. And hearsay.
What an exchange there. Kresha, your mother, Kay Woodcock, will take the stand at some point. What is that going to be like for her to go through something like that if a cross-exam will indeed happen? Unmute your mic. Mic is unmuted. Okay, I would love to hear what Kresha has to say. We're going to figure that out. Rachel, let's talk about the objections there. Argumentative, harassment. What did you take from that? And Lori asks, don't I have the right to cross-examine her on what she's testified to? And the judge repeats her question as an answer. He can't help her.
Right. No, Lori was harassing the witness. Lori's questions weren't relevant. The prosecutor's objections were appropriate and timely. And I think to the Judge Mel's point that this is showing her inexperience as an attorney, not knowing how to deal with objections, not knowing how to get information like that out without drawing objections. So her attitude, her demeanor, her entire persona in the courtroom is really doing her a disservice. And I also really thought it was good for the prosecutor to not pull her punches and to protect her witness, because witnesses don't want to come forward because they don't want to be harassed. They don't want to be painted in bad light. And a prosecutor, when you let your witness get treated poorly, you just send a message to other people not to come forward. So Trina K is to be applauded for politely, respectfully protecting her witnesses' rights.
Okay, Kresha, I think we have you on. Go ahead and tell us your thoughts.
I'll try. Can you hear me? I just
Yes.
want to make sure.
You're good.
Okay. I'm my own worst enemy sometimes. Well, I mean, I forgot what the question was. I just have so many things.
Your
to
mother's
say
going to
about
take
that.
the stand and get to experience this, and she's been waiting for this for years, and we just got a sample of it from someone who didn't know Charles as well as your mother.
Right. My mom, the day she found out that Lori was pro se and that she would be, questioning her, I took it like I was offended by it. Like I thought like, oh my God, she has so much audacity. But my mom, I have a voicemail from my mom and she is elated. And I'm just, it threw me off big time because I was like, oh, but she's been looking forward to this too. I mean, there's a lot that Lori has done and is convicted for, thanks in part by Rachel Smith. Thank you again. But I mean, it's been a long time coming. And I think that a lot of this goes back to the resentment that she holds for my mom. My mom had nothing to do with Charles changing the life insurance beneficiary at all. And I mean, Lori can never admit her wrongs or her guilt. She's a narcissist through and through. So this is crazy to watch. And I'm glad that Nancy Joe is holding her ground. Oh my God. It's just really good to finally put a face, to the name that's been in the report. So.
And Charles only changed the beneficiary after he had reported that his account had been hacked in some way. And he called the life insurance company Banner Life Insurance. And so he wasn't even going to change the beneficiary until that happened. We have a question from the comments here asking if her team, her counsel, can sort of talk her down as she gets all, fired up. And I want to ask Benjamin, just what can the counsel do here to just guide her in the right direction?
So Lori has advisory counsel, but ultimately under the law, she's her own attorney. So she can do and say whatever she wants as far as her being an attorney. The advisory counsel is there just to give her advice and help her, and they can try to calm her down, but she's her own person. So we all here have had clients where they kind of going off the rails and you try to calm them down, but once they start talking, sometimes you can't quit. The train just keeps going, and the train here right now for Lori Vallow is keep going. And one of the main things you learn in law school is never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. So, and she's about to ask the question that she has no idea what she's going to say, and she's going to get hurt. And the judge is trying to warn her. And Rachel mentioned this earlier. that don't ask that question. I mean, the judge is trying to say, hey, step back, Lori, but now once we come back from the break, you're going to hear this witness go into everything that Charles said, and it's not going to be good for Lori. So all the advisory council can do is try to do their best to calm her down, but Lori is her own person. She's her own attorney, and she's going to do what she's going to do in this case.
Mel, what do you think is going through the mindset of Judge Boreski right now during this break?
Well, I think the judge has been remarkably patient. I think he's bending over backwards to try to warn her in the direction she's going. You couldn't have had a better warning than asking her if she's really serious about opening the door. If I was the paralegal during the luncheon break, I would urge her to back off this. You're opening a door and you're going to create nothing but future problems for yourself. But again, I don't think she's going to listen. I think what this presentation this week has shown me is that one, Lori is very bright, but two, she is aggressive. She talks back to the judge a couple of times. In her opening statement, she was called out, and Lori's going to do it her own way. And I rather suspect that she's getting all the theater, she's getting all of this publicity, all of these cameras in the courtroom. She's already looking at severe sentences out of Idaho. And she is again reinforcing the belief that she's a fool for representing herself. She's asking a lot of random questions. She goes over the same questions over and over. And if I'm sitting on that jury, I'm going to get a little bit tired of her demeanor, her talking back at the judge, her rambling on. She makes comments often after every question. She is the poster child for why you shouldn't represent yourself.
Wow. Rachel, I got to ask you, where is she trying to go with this narrative of the relationship between Tylee and Charles and some sort of animosity? How would you counter what she's saying there in redirect?
And redirect, it depends on what I was confident this witness would say or remembered. You've got to remember that Tylee was a teenager. Of course, she had arguments. She's trying to set it up that there was extreme animosity between Charles and Tylee, such that Alex felt the need to defend Tylee and Lori. So Lori is trying to set that up. She's created the specter in the past that situations were caused by Tylee and that Tylee caused issues and that Charles didn't respond appropriately. So that's what she's trying to do. On redirect, if this witness knew, I would make sure they knew that Charles helped and co-signed for Tylee's Jeep. Charles helped Tylee financially. Charles supported Tylee in her various health problems. Tylee was a daughter to Charles. And so I would go over those things if this witness knew that. I wouldn't go too deep, but I would counter that with Tylee did not cause this situation. Charles would never have attacked Tylee. And I would make it really clear that this is just a tactic that Lori's using to deflect blame or minimize what Alex and she did.
Yeah, let's listen to that full exchange, SOT 6.
So are you trying to tell me and this jury that you went on one date with my husband and he told you all the details of our lives?
I'm telling you the truth, and that's what I know.
So you spent your whole date getting to know each other, talking about me.
Don't flatter yourself. No, we did not spend the whole time talking about you.
You knew a lot about me, right?
I knew what I've testified to.
What else did you talk about on your date?
Lots of things.
Like what, for instance?
Life, kids, the church, lots of things.
Okay. Did he tell you anything about our other 4 children?
Yes.
So you knew that we did have 5 children as well?
I did.
Okay. Did he talk to you about my daughter, Tylee?
He did.
Did he talk about his relationship with her?
I don't recall that.
Did he talk about the contention in his relationship with my daughter, Tylee?
I don't recall that.
I'm sure you don't.
And I'm going to object to comments by the defendant made after questions testifying.
Kresha, I have to ask you about the family dynamic and what it was like back then. I mean, 5, 6 years ago, obviously Tylee was 16 years old. She was young and this was a blended family, but just what do you remember? And this person you're seeing in the courtroom, her attitude, her demeanor, Lori, is this the same person? Just describe her.
Lori has not been the same person, for sure, for me, since she walked into that Idaho courtroom for the first time when she was extradited from Kauai to Idaho for not producing her children within 5 days. When she was sitting poolside. But I mean, she was nothing like this. Nothing. I sit here and wonder, like, she really presented herself, the self that she wanted to show. Because I never saw any of these things in her before. I was reluctant, though, however, when they went to adopt my nephew. I don't know what it was. It was perhaps a gut feeling, but I didn't agree with it, but then I thought it was just me being selfish or whatever. But she's nothing like she was before. That person is the zombie. Her and her husband that sits on death row where she should be. They're both the zombies. They project all of their insecurities, all the things that they hate about themselves, in my opinion, onto their victims. She's doing it now. This is what she does.
Kresha, from what you know through your mother and yourself, Nancy spoke about it. Charles didn't speak negatively about his then wife, even though they were going through issues. She says he was kind, charming, and she was surprised that he didn't say anything terrible about her, demeaning.
Right.
What would you say about Charles and his attitude about Lori during these times?
He was very, just like she explained, he was not an unkind person. He was funny. He was corny. Like, he told the corniest jokes. I miss that. I appreciate those kind of jokes, and he just had a way of telling them. And I mean, he was chivalrous, he was generous, and Lori and her family, in my opinion, took advantage of that, of my uncle. And they must, what I'm saying? Like, it's really crappy, because I know what happened because of the trials before. We know from all the things that have come out in the FOIA docs and everything like that, that they plotted, they plotted. And that was the first obstacle, in my opinion, was my Uncle Charles. She wanted his money or the lifestyle, because Chad, come on now, he was not a good writer at all. So she's right where she deserves to be. And sooner than later, her goose will be cooked on her own. And I'm here for it. And I cannot wait for her to fade into the background, because she really gets off to this. I really think.
You mean the attention and obviously the
Yes.
media attention. Mel, what do you expect to see with cross-exam in the afternoon session? Do you think she stays on this Nancy Jo Hancock for the rest of the afternoon?
Well, it's difficult to project what she is going to do. I think she's her own worst enemy. The part that keeps blowing me away when she is trying to attack her, when the juror knows what Lori was doing. She's having an affair. She's having these wacko experiences, these demons that are in there. And she's trying to attack this woman who has gone out with him one time. And he opens up about the relationship, which you would expect to do when you're going out with somebody for the first time. Who are you? What's your life like? What are you going through? What was your relationship like? And in his mind, I can understand the divorce, whether the paperwork was filed or not. If I'm sitting on that jury, I'm going to think, what a joke. If the paper wasn't filed, the fact of the matter was that marriage was so over. He's changing beneficiaries to his policy. He's having this anxiety attack. She's saying these wacko things to him. I think this afternoon she is continuing to dig her own hole into the case. I suspect that by the end of the case, the jury is going to be so tired of her demeanor. And what a mistake. An attorney representing her and helping her to keep her mouth shut would have been 50 times better than what she's doing to herself.
Okay, Benjamin, let's say you're that attorney. What would you be telling her right now during the break?
Basically, I would say, get this witness off the stand. Any witness who's on the stand who could hurt your case, you want them off. You don't want to show like a battle between yourself and the witness, because the jurors don't like that. The witnesses have no horses in the race. They're just there to pretty much sit there, recall the story. And with Lori battling this witness, doesn't make Lori look good. And the jurors, they judge her based upon what she's saying and how she's acting. And she's having her own little side conversations every time the witness, explains the relationship she had with Charles and the date. But Lori keeps talking, keeps making these sidebars, and this isn't going to help her. So I'm her advisory counsel, her attorney. I'm like, get this witness off the stand and let's move on to the next witness so we can have another battle, another day, instead of having this witness beat up on us and hurt our case.
You're saying let's punt the ball right now and let's live to see another series, not let this get out of control, basically. Rachel.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. You had to punt this ball and go on to the next witness.
Rachel, you're an expert on this, and it's this case, as far as the divorce, I want to know about the reasoning between Chad and Lori, why they couldn't just divorce their spouses if they wanted to be together. In your research of this fantasy world, what did you learn? Oh, she'll be fine. You got it.
One, if there was a divorce, she's not going to get the insurance money. Two, religious wise, they had these people that they were trying to convince to do things for them. And they were trying to create that new church, that new group. And so one of the principles was that, divorce really wasn't an option. So this was part and parcel of some of the doctrines and information that Chad was trying to spread and teach, but it also had a monetary benefit. If she could divorce Charles, that cuts down on the life insurance, that cuts down on the Social Security, and she's going to have to share custody of JJ. So there's a lot of reasons why they didn't want a divorce, and the religious piece is a small part of that. It was part of that manipulation, that those tools they were using, but in reality, it had much more to do with the money.
Oh, so it really wasn't about them being married in a past life and not wanting to get divorced for any religious reason, because I was always confused about that.
Yeah, I mean, Chad and Lori will tell people that was one of the things, that they didn't want to be divorced and that they've been together in the past, in the future, and in the eternity. I mean, they've been married as various forms of, various high profile, important people. That was part of the teachings that they had. But the real reason, when you get down to it, it's really just boring. It's money. It's that age old, she wanted his money.
So all the money they could get, because if you think about it, she was unemployed, and Chad, was he working? He wasn't. He was like semi-working.
Chad was selling some books, but not much. His wife was the primary breadwinner. If he was clearing $60,000 a year, which in Lori's lifestyle was not enough, it wasn't enough to sustain them. So they needed Chad, Tammy, Tylee, and JJ gone, but in a way that benefited them financially.
And I knew he was writing books. I wasn't sure how much money he was actually making off these books. I know she was a fan years before. I mean, did it seem like either one of them was the leader in charge, or was it a 50-50 thing?
It was really a mutual situation. They manipulated each other in a very back and forth way. Chad was often the sort of the idea person, the doctrine person, the person who put forward plans. Lori's the one who helped get it done and helped get people to get things done. So it was a very sort of symbiotic relationship.
And in today's session, in the morning session, we know that Nancy testifies that she told Charles, you should let her know about the beneficiary change. And maybe that would help his case because he feared for his safety. I want to listen to this exchange. coming from prosecutor Trina Kane, she's asking about how Nancy learned that Charles wasn't even alive anymore. Nancy thought that she was getting ghosted after the date. Let's take a listen to SOT 4.
That evening, you told us that you had sort of unformalized plans to see Charles the next day.
Correct.
Was there like someone would call someone, or how was that supposed to go?
He just said that he needed to do the things that I said, have a morning with JJ, find a place to live, meet up with Lori's brother Adam, and then we would meet up somewhere for a late lunch or something.
Did you ever try to reach him on July 11th of 2019?
I did.
Did you try texting him ever?
Around 11-ish in the morning, I texted him and asked how his morning with JJ had been.
Did you get a response back?
I did not.
Did you try calling him?
A couple hours later, I called once, yes.
Did you get a call back?
I did not.
What were you thinking when you didn't hear from Charles after you spent this night?
I was puzzled how I had misread what I had thought been a good date so wrong that he would not even take the courtesy to reply. Wondered why, but just figured that was what his decision was.
So on July 11th, when you're not hearing back from Charles, did you know that he had been shot and killed?
No.
Did you later learn that Charles had been killed from seeing something on TV?
I was watching TV in December, I believe, and his picture came on the screen, and it said that he was dead.
When you learned that in December that he had been killed, did you learn when that had happened? Did you try to investigate?
I did. They said the date, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's right about when I went out with him. And so I went to my phone and thought I probably had deleted our text conversations. If I'm not dating someone and I text, I usually delete the thread, but I had not. And I had the conversations, and then I realized that I was with him until 10:45 that night and that he died at 7:30-ish the next morning.
And did you later then talk with the police in April of 2020 to tell them what you knew about this case?
I did.
So it took months for Nancy Jo Hancock to learn that the guy she dated had been shot and killed. She just thought, well, I'm not talking to him anymore. And after he was killed, Kresha, took your family time to find out about his death. Your mom and her husband had to find out on Google. There were so many different narratives. I know that Lori had told JJ's school that he had committed suicide. She had said that he had a heart attack, I believe, to her son Colby. There were so many different statements made about his death. And the jury's going to find all of this out of how the message was given to different people. Mel, what's going to happen then when they learn this?
This person that has been asking these questions every day that they're looking at and measuring the demeanor, I think it's going to be overwhelming. I was so impressed by this witness today. Her sincerity, a sweet, wonderful woman, single, meeting this guy, getting to know him, and the feeling of rejection that he doesn't even have the decency to return my call the next day. I'm reaching out. And the horror of finding out months later that she was probably one of the last people with him, and the information that she had gathered, and then to have the good sense to reach out to law enforcement to let them know what had happened. I think this is really the beginning of the overwhelming emotional aspect of this case. I know that Rachel, with her experience in Idaho, it probably went through the same kind of procedure. You get the technical stuff over with, you get the officers at the scene, but this is the beginning of the emotionally gripping part of the case. And then when these text messages come in, when this wacky revelation stuff comes in, I'm going to be fascinated as to how Lori is going to cross-examine these witnesses when that information is coming out.
Yeah, the door is opening. Surely. I want to ask Ben this, and then I want to go to Rachel on the same question. Sometimes it is just the simple witness, and I mean simple in a way as the testimony that relates to other human beings. It's not so technical, and it's just, this is what happened. This is what I experienced with this, and really brings up more questions or suspicion. I mean, would you agree?
Yes, these jurors who are sitting in the juror box listening to this evidence, they're normal people. They go to work every day and they're here just listening to this evidence. And Mel is right. They're emotional, and if they hear emotional evidence, this is going to affect them. So when they go back in the jury room to decide, whether or not Lori Vallow is guilty or not guilty, that they're going to weigh this evidence that Nancy, this witness, said today, and the emotions she showed, and they're going to see how Lori Vallow, how she's showing her emotions and how she's acting, and they can judge a witness and just say, hey, this is a really credible witness. This witness is doing a great job, is telling the story, and we don't really believe what Lori Vallow is saying. So emotions, credibility is a high factor whenever the jurors decide on a case to vote guilty or not guilty at the end of the case.
And Rachel, all she's doing is telling her truth.
Yeah, that witness is sort of a prosecutor's dream. They're just authentic, normal, honest person who came forward and told the truth about the last hours of someone's life. There's only sympathy and empathy in that jury for someone like this, and it's a really bad strategy call to try to go after somebody who has already hurt you, and it can only hurt you more. So I don't know whether it was the judge or Benjamin who said it, but Lori's making a mistake by keeping this lady around.
And we do notice that even someone who's a stranger to this, I mean, Nancy Jo Hancock's not part of the family, but she's getting emotional remembering how excited Charles was to see JJ the next day. For some reason, it triggers her some sort of emotion. Obviously, we know and we've seen photos of JJ and heard the stories. How could you not? Kresha, I mean, what's it like seeing him play a role in this? He's not been here, rest in peace to JJ Vallow, but his name is being brought up.
I mean, it's the same as it was for Uncle Charles. Tylee and JJ, and Charles and Tammy, all of their names, they have all spoke from the grave, so to speak. They've all been the driving factor in the center of all these cases. That's where it started. That's the heart of the whole matter. That's why we're here. That's why I saw law enforcement. It affected them. You could see it. I just wanted to go and hug them and just say thank you, because nobody should have to deal with all this. Nobody. Lori is the reason that we are here. She's half the reason. I really think that Chad should be here too. That's just me. It's nothing, no shade on anybody, but I mean, they were co-conspirators in my opinion. And I mean, I love hearing my relatives' names be brought up, and it hurts, yes, but it's necessary. It's necessary to have these difficult conversations to, kind of get through this, because it's not at all what they went through. It's like the least I can do is just carry this on, the best we can. It's not easy.
Kresha, you bring up a valid point, because Chandler police did recommend a murder conspiracy charge for Chad Daybell as well, but the county attorney's office declined for no reasonable likelihood of a conviction. Rachel, I don't tell me about that process and what the challenge is for the county attorney's office there, because people do wonder, why is Chad not charged as well in this case?
Well, and that's the challenge when you have somebody who is obviously the person who pulled the trigger, who's no longer available. So in order to pull someone into the conspiracy, you have to have evidence, not just that they wanted somebody gone, but that they took an active step or some sort of contribution to further the conspiracy. And in Arizona, the prosecutors looked at their evidence and they decided there wasn't enough evidence to say that Chad contributed to the conspiracy. Mere words, such as they aren't typically enough to charge someone with such a serious crime. And so I think we're seeing the use of prosecutorial discretion, saying, look, we don't ethically think we have enough to put it in front of a jury. And because we don't ethically have enough to convict him, we're not going to go forward. That is one of the toughest ethical calls a prosecutor could make. And it's very clear that the prosecutors in Maricopa said, look, we're not going to just go after somebody because we intellectually know we did it, because everybody wants us to. We're going to follow the rules, we're going to follow the ethics, and we're going to follow the evidence.
Yeah, in their world, county attorney's office, the prosecutors on this case most likely know Chad's influence on this is heavy, but he was in Idaho when this happened on July 11, 2019. The only people at the scene, Lori and Tylee and Alex Cox and JJ in the car, those are the people present. Lori Vallow Daybell is the only one alive. Mel, what are your thoughts on just what we're going to see here next? And I want to know if there's a tactic to calling Nancy Joe up to have her on the stand, even though Lori Vallow Daybell may think that she's getting her points across, but we just got from really technical, and then now the prosecutor brings up someone that she may have known, okay, this could agitate Lori.
Yeah, Lori would have done well to listen to Benjamin Taylor's advice. That cross-examination should have been on and off after about 5 or 6 witnesses. There is nothing that she's going to get from this witness that is going to help her case. So there are a few things that she may not know, but the combative nature to try to go after somebody that went through this trauma of having gone out with the guy, having her feelings hurt because he wouldn't take her call the next day, from the conversation the night before, she had reason to be concerned because his soon-to-be, or his wife at the time, was a whack job. I think it will go on this afternoon, and Lori will continue to take out the shovel and dig her own grave. Nothing can come out of this from her aggressive nature. She's now apparently opened the door to do other damage. From an appellate standpoint, now that she's opened the door, an appellate court isn't going to criticize the judge because he warned her, you're opening this door. And I think we're going to see more damage this afternoon. So she probably should have had Benjamin sitting at the table with her with super glue and tape to put over her mouth and say, shut up, we're done.
Okay, which leads me to my final question. This last round, I'm going to ask all of you. Ben, will Lori Vallow Daybell testify on her own behalf?
I think she has to. I mean, this is a self-defense case, and to prove self-defense, you have to pretty much get on the stand and tell your side of the story and tell the jurors why this was self-defense and why you feared for your life. Whether or not the jurors believe her or not, only time will tell, but I believe that she has to testify in order for her to even have a chance in this case. Because right now, the witnesses are just pretty much hammering her and hammering her and hammering her. And she's trying her best on cross-examination, but I don't know if she's getting the right punches and the right jabs in to get points. So I think at the end of the day, she's going to have to throw that Hail Mary and testify. And maybe you might have 1 or 2 jurors who are sympathetic to have a hung juror. And if she has a hung jury, that we do this all over again. Wow. But it's going to be up to her be able to try to get 1 or 2 jurors to be hung or not guilty, but ultimately she has to testify in order to save herself in this case if she wants to.
And then open herself up to cross-exam by Trina K. Rachel Smith, what would you do with that if you were standing there?
Yeah.
It's something we really, really hoped for in Idaho. There was lots of planning and discussion on how we were going to handle it. You certainly would try to get this Lori, which I'm not surprised by, because Lori was meek and mild at times in the courtroom in Idaho, but behind the scenes, she was not. Her phone calls with Chad were this level of spicy and fight. So she did a nice job of portraying a persona in Idaho. So I think, you know, you hope for that persona, you hope for that combative argument, you hope for that to come out and cross. But I'm going to disagree with Benjamin. Maybe we can do a little pool. I don't think Lori's going to testify. Lori likes to be in charge. Lori likes to be in control, and she's not going to want to answer Trina's questions. I think she's going to try to quote unquote testify in closing argument, so we can see whether it actually happened.
Krisha, what do you think?
I mean, I have to go with Rachel here. I really do. I've gone back and forth. At first, I thought that she would for sure testify. She did an interview not too long ago, which was after the Dateline interview, which it knocked me off kilter, because I mean, she was just not being as obnoxious, as condescending as she was with Keith Morrison. But in this interview that she did with that other station, I found out afterwards that that Lori's defense is actually who contacted them for this interview, and that threw me off even more, because I mean, usually don't defense attorneys usually say shh, you know, to be quiet and not to you know, open yourself up. So it's really shocking. She really wants to talk. She really wants to get her story out there. She wants to testify. You know, and so I do go back and forth with this. If she does, though, like Rachel said, I think that she would do it closing just like she did with opening, pretty much. Somewhat. She tried to.
All right,
And
bring
she
us
does during the you know, questioning her own witnesses. They've already had to admonish her for that. So
All right, Mel, bring us home.
Well, my thought is I've gone both ways on this. I think the fact that she's acting as her own attorney and what she said before at the beginning of the case about not testifying, I will only say this: if she testifies, if I'm in intensive care with a heart disease or something, I want you to tell the staff, bring the televisions in. I don't want to miss that cross-examination. This is going to be theater at its best. With her ego, I don't know whether she can stand not to take the stand. Right. And I think that probably people are telling her, don't be more foolish than you've already been. But if she takes a stand, I'm going to be there if it's even in a hospital bed.
Mel, you're just bringing it this week, man. Hey, it's going to be a game time decision, I think. Hey, thank you guys for joining us. You guys are awesome as always. And Krisha, just so everyone knows, the background in your room, love always wins. That is what Charles said. That was a quote of his. You have pictures up of your family, including Charles. You have JJ. You got Tylee there. That's what it's about right now, the victims in this saga. And so thank you guys again for joining us. We appreciate the time, as does everyone here.
Thank you.